I think we got YouTube streaming. Yeah. YouTube is now streaming. And I believe, Rob, did you go ahead and share it to the PPU Facebook group? Oof. I'm everywhere, aren't I? You're going to bore everybody with an exciting topic, right? Okay, I do see me on YouTube, and I do see me on Facebook, so we'll go ahead and get started. Well, they can hear me on YouTube, let's put it that way. Good evening, everybody. Clyde, Lindsay here from Pixel Pro Displays. Another exciting Tuesday night. We've come up with a handful of things to discuss as far as AC channels are concerned, and I know this might be what you might consider a older topic, but it certainly is no less relevant today than it was 7 or 8 or 9 or even 10 years ago when we were messing around with xLights and trying to get things working together. I know from personal experience that using xLights was a great addition to my entourage with whenever I converted into RGB, but I still had probably 6 or 7 LOR controllers that I used my first year, we'll say. And yeah, as the years progressed, I kind of weaned myself off of using the AC stuff. But but let's be real, let's be honest. There are a significant number of people in this community who are still using a large number of these AC controllers. And if you haven't realized it yet, or you haven't considered it yet, xLights is definitely a viable option for you as far as usefulness whenever programming a song and sequencing and doing all the work. The hard part comes in is how xLights sees a model and how you extrapolate the model to do something with what many people in the LOR community are going to call a canned effect. xLights doesn't. xLights has effects that do things versus the standard AC toolbar, which is what the LOR system was designed with in mind. And this is, of course, I'm referring back to LORS Showtime software, like version 1, 2, 3, 4, up into 5. I think version 6 now is something, or is it 7? I'm so not totally with LOR that I haven't used it very much in the past, let's say 7 years. But I think today's version is a different version that you don't see the sequence editor, the way they called it, the SE, the sequence editor, that you used to see it. So with that being said, what I want to do tonight is I want to kind of guide you through a couple little things that I have learned, and we're going to start with, and the basic idea that I want to give people is mapping. If you are using xLights and you have a number of props that are in your show that happen to be AC, the challenges with the market, the AC market in xLights is very small whenever it comes down to purchasing sequences. So many times what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to sequence your AC stuff on your own. If you are, and we do, if you're in the Zoom room here, or if you're out there on Facebook, or if you're on YouTube, go ahead and put in the comment section and let us know if you're actually using AC props right now, because if you are, this video is definitely for you. But I can tell you, over the past, let's say, 5 years, I know of at least an average of 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe up to 10 different club members who currently use or had used AC props, and they were generally in the usefulness of let's say the useful part of your, like your mega tree or your matrix, not matrix, your mega tree, your mini trees, your arches, vertical lines, stuff like that. And the other things that were kind of apparent too were, sculpture items like wireframe reindeer, or you had snowmen that were AC, you know, the grapevine type prop, and those are very valid and simple to keep out. If you had, I mean, for goodness sakes, if you had blow molds and you had like 10 or 12 blow molds, and you had a choir in the background, you could still run that with everything in xLights. The thing is it's just not going to be just like a pixel where you're changing their colors all the time. So my goal today is to attempt to give you a good kind of pathway to take whenever it comes to sequencing or changing things around or working within xLights and AC props. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen. So we're in Zoom, and let me set up that there. Okay. I am going to, hey Rich, I see out there on YouTube, and don't see any comments on the Facebook thread, but those sometimes don't come through for me real easy. So I'm going to try to monitor all of the questions on all of the different platforms. So if you have a question, put it in chat, put it in the comments on YouTube, like Rich Berry did there. And what I want to do is I want to show you a basic kind of thing, and I want to walk through a couple little background things that you should be aware of before we get started whenever it comes to sequencing some of these props. So first off, I think the most common thing that most people are going to look at whenever they do some sort of AC channel setup, and I put a lot of AC stuff in here. This is all AC. And you can have a massive display, a massive display with 160 channels in LOR. That's 10 controllers, and really do a ginormous display. And you can have a lot of options. So don't think that just because you have AC and you can't do a show. That's not what this is about. It's not what it's about at all. All right, my chat just went kind of goofy. Let me put this back up here. All right, so what I want to do is I want to get started with kind of walking you through some things. So the first thing I wanted to share with you is, if you're not familiar with this, you can add images of your specific props into xLights. And one of the things I like that I can do is I can take a picture of a prop that's in my yard. If it's in your yard, you know, you have backgrounds and colors and stuff, you can always use a program. I like to use Microsoft Paint. This is Microsoft Paint 3D. This is one of my favorite programs. You can load a picture in here, and you can do magic select and remove a background out of it. You can also upload a picture to Facebook, or not Facebook, but to the internet somewhere. There's websites all over that you can download, upload your folder images to, and have the background taken out, and just have the specific centerpiece featured. And that's what I've done. I made a transparent background for this reindeer. I took it and flipped it the other way. I have a snowman, a kind of a caged grapevine type snowman. There's two different ones. So, you know, these are things that you have in your show. And one of the things whenever you set these props up is you have to know that they have to be set up as an AC single channel prop. And there's a couple different ways to do this. Now, with some of these, it's going to be what specifically whenever it is a prop like this, or let's say it is it's a blow mold, for example. You want to use something that is a single color, but you can give it any color you want. This color that you give it, though, is going to be, especially if you use single color. I'm using, in this instance, I'm using single color intensity. You don't need a color to display this prop. That's going to display the picture as your viewable thing on the screen. So it'll fade in and fade out just like a light bulb would or a pixel would. And we're using single color intensity. Now, single color intensity, basically in the simplest format, without being technical, and I didn't program xLights, but from a user standpoint, one of the things that single color intensity does is it picks up the effect and recognizes that there's a color attached to the effect, and it'll say, hey, there is an intensity, there's an amount of light that's being told to be sent out, turn me on for this whenever I see this. And that's what single color intensity will do. So that's one prop, and any prop that you have that is a single color that you want to be able to activate with any color in xLights, pink, blue, orange, green, yellow, red, whatever. xLights will activate it because it's set to single color intensity. If we want to get really specific and only activate certain colors, we can choose a single color in the strings property setup, and the single color, we can come in here and physically change this to exactly what color we want. And what xLights will do is not only will it display that color, it will only activate this prop whenever this color is run across in an effect. So that's what makes sequencing challenging in xLights whenever you're not using a color correctly matching with the color of the prop that you're applying it to. So let's say you have a red mini tree and you use the blue color on a bars effect, blue and green, we'll say, and you put blue and green bars on it, it's not going to activate the red. And if you only have red mini trees, those aren't going to turn on. Or if your prop, as I said before, if your prop, let's say you have this, this snowman set to red, and it's single color, not single color intensity, he's going to turn on if he's only single color. He's only going to turn on whenever this color that you signified is applied to that effect. So that's the challenge. That's the biggest challenge. It's really hard to explain this, but hopefully whenever you see, we're going to do a quick import, and we're going to walk through a couple of the changes that you're going to have to make. And you're going to have to make these because it's going to be really intentional on your part to take an active role in getting your prop to actually do something in xLights whenever you're mapping a sequence that is based mostly off of pixels. So I'll go ahead and change that back to intensity. So you can see here, let's just walk around the layout so you kind of see what it is, and we'll play with this in a little bit. You can see here we have some red mini trees. You know what, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the screen. Lock this. Because I'm going to click on these and it's going to move them all. There we go. Okay, so we have a row of red mini trees right here. This row right here, this is a row of green mini trees. You can see that by the signification of the color, and I've named them that. And then you also have a row of single color blue mini trees, and this would signify probably what everybody's dream or aspiration was at one point. I know it was my goal to get red, green, and white because I wanted to be just like Richard Holdman. I wanted to be able to do the Amazing Grace sequence. I wanted to do all the sequences that he did back in 2008 and 2009 and 2010. And so that was our goal, you know. And so if your goal was to do that kind of thing too, and you went with red, green, and blue, and you had those, we called that a super string too, by the way, but it had to be set up a certain way. And some of us grew our show differently. I know I'm going to sidetrack a little bit here, but I want to talk about this specifically at this point here because we have two different sets of mini trees. We have these sets of mini trees where we clearly have a set of all red, we clearly have a set of all green, and we clearly have a set of all blue. But the thing is that it all depended on how you plugged in your mini trees. Did you put red on channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we'll say, and then on 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, the second 8 sets of pigtails on the LOR controller? Did you do it red, green, and then blue? If you did, then it worked one way for you, that you put all your colors matched up that way. Well, then you had other people that would do something that was red was number 1, 2 was green, and 3 was blue, and that was the first 3 channels on a controller. And the second 3 channels was the second mini tree, which was red, green, blue. And the third one was red, green, blue with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, channel 7, 8, 9, channel 10, 10, 11, 12, etc., etc., going all the way up to the number of mini trees that you had. And we called these super strings. Now, we generally didn't have three sets of trees to signify this. But the problem is it depends on how you built your mini trees and how you set up your channels, which one you're going to use. So whenever you're in xLights, there is a reason why I have this red here, is if you've put all of your reds back to back to back to back to back in your LOR layout, and you want to bring your stuff in, you could set it up so that you have your reds on one. You could right click, unlock. We'll move this, control, click on another one, and slide this right up. This would be your green channels, and you would just layer them just like that. Now, don't ask me to separate those. And I'll right-click, and I will, let's see, unlock, and we will click and drag these up here. And this here would be what you would consider your mini tree group. And now this isn't exactly perfect, but if your channels weren't exactly in perfect lines, or they weren't, if they were in perfect alignment, like 1 through 8 was red and 9 through 16 was green and 17 through 17 through 24 was blue, then this might be the way that you would have wanted to set them up in xLights, because they all had different channels. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm going to make a group out of these. I'm going to call these create group. I never see it. Mini trees all. And this is going to signify what I call all of the RGB mini trees that have different channel assignments. Let's say you started out your first year with LOR and you had one controller and you put 8 mini trees on the first controller and they were all red. And the second year you bought another controller, and on channel 1 through 8 of the second controller is where your green ones went. And then year number 3, you bought a third LOR controller, and the first 8 outputs were where you put your third row of blue ones. This is the setup for that, okay? If you consistently put mini tree strings, if you consistently put super strings together and you went output 1, 2, 3 is red, green, blue on the first one, output 4, 5, 6 is red, green, blue on the second, output 7, 8, 9 is red, green, blue on the third one, then this is a better way for you to simplify your setup whenever you're bringing in your sequences or you're working within xLights. This edition is something that Keith added in. I want to say this was like maybe 2020 that he created the super strings, and you can actually add more than 3 colors. But in both of these instances, it's important to note that the addition or the usefulness of having a red, green, and blue AC channel is almost as good as if you had dumb RGBs, because xLights will, whenever you program, now we created this group here, we called this mini trees all. We created that group, we put them all in there, as opposed to a string of red, a string of green, a string of blue, which you could certainly go in and create groups for individuals. So if you want to just only sequence those, you can, but it's not necessary, because what xLights will do is xLights will only activate the colors for that model. And if it has a red one on and a blue one on, it will activate them individually. It can be in this one giant group, as opposed to having to sequence the red group and the green group and the blue group like you used to have to do with LOR. So it simplifies it, but it seems like it's confusing. It'll be a little bit more apparent whenever we jump into the sequencing side of this. The last one here, this as I said, is super strings, and they were added in. Keith added these in. He went through a lot of trouble, and I don't know that a lot of people know that you can use super strings. Now you can have up to, I don't know, I think he had 8 different colors up to that you could go up to in here. I don't want to go overboard with the details for it, but suffice to say, if you have red, green, and blue AC channels and you use the super string, the color number 1 is going to be channel number 1, color number 2 is going to be channel number 2, and color number 3 is channel number 3. So if you can remember that whenever you go to set up your layout, and you just look at this and you say, oh, this needs to go into output whatever. And I'm not going through channel setups either. That's not something I'm going to touch on in this video. But just in general, the basic idea would be you've got one prop now as opposed to 3 different props that are listed up here because of the way you're channeling these. So just keep that in mind. And we'll go ahead and create a group here. I think, well, maybe we did. Mini tree super strings. I did do that. So, oh, I did. I had a mini RGB group. That's right. Oh, well. The other thing I wanted to show you was I wanted to show you some sequencing on arches, because those are more common. for people who have existing displays and stuff. If you're doing high pixel density props, this is all kind of boring to you, I'm sure. But for the folks who are converting over, it can be quite intimidating. I remember converting over and it just being a lot of work to try to figure out everything that there was to do in it. So if you're bringing in arches, which LOR was notorious for having channel hogs, and an arch was, we called it a channel hog because you could put 16 outputs on one arch, or you could in this instance there's 8, and my little ones, mine were mini. I put 5 on mine, so I could get 3 arches onto one controller. I needed to spread that out because arches were channel hogs. If you wanted them all independent, you had to buy a bunch of controllers just to control your arches. So if you look at doing arches, there's the 2 ways that you can do the arches. You can do the arches with single color intensity, and then over here you can see we have the single color, and generally we did arches with white. So with that being said, the natural color, I think it would show off. I think it shows off as white. We'll see. We'll find out. Another thing that you might be familiar with is what we called old school fire sticks. The fire sticks was an idea by a fellow. He was up in Muncie, Indiana, and if Mr. Christmas 2000 were in the room, he might tell you that he did a Bellagio poles. They called them Bellagio poles, but they were similar to the water fountain at the Bellagio in Las Vegas. And Tom definitely had a whole setup of these in his yard. It was a giant, 8-10 foot tall pole with 8 channels of AC lights on them. And he would have it going in a circle and bouncing up and down. And you can imagine it being like a giant drum or a cylinder where they would bounce up and down, and he would chase things around on it. And it was rather interesting. I had some of these too. I made them. They were probably only 7 foot tall or so. Maybe I only made mine 8 foot tall, and I had a great time with them. I thought they were fun, and they were super easy for me to build, and they were cheap. And so I liked them. But the one thing that was interesting is they actually created a matrix. And I didn't realize that I was sequencing a matrix back in 2010 and 2011 because you could get like bold font words to go scroll across this. It was really hard, but you had to practice it. And so that was something. And with xLights, you probably do a little better job with it now. But in any event, I digress. And this is just another form of viewability that you could have with AC channels. The big circle blocks here that you see, these are what the dots these are called channel blocks. Now, what a channel block is initially a channel block was created to easily bring in. It didn't matter what your LOR AC setup was. You weren't going to program it. All you wanted to do was just get your AC lights to work from LOR into xLights. And the idea behind the channel block was to be able to visually see that there was effects applied to a certain prop. And if you had a large AC display, you could create a basic channel block, set up the channels so that they matched the channels in your LOR, and then you could import your effects in that you had done, and you could begin using xLights. And then since your songs were already done in AC, you could go ahead and program your Pixel Megatree or your Matrix or whatever it was that you were adding into your show, and you were letting xLights just run what you had always run. You weren't going to go in and reprogram a lot of stuff. So channel block was just a fast way to put 16 channels down, and boom, you could sit there and say, hey, what's channel number 1? Oh, channel number 1, I think you could, I'm not sure if you could change these or not. You might be able to, but I think it's just the color. You couldn't name them. I don't know that you can name them. Possibly you could. But in any event, you were able to change the colors depending on what the prop actually was. I put a couple of these here, and I put them in a group. And what did I call them? Did I put them in here? There's the fire sticks, channel blocks vertical, channel blocks horizontal. So I've got 2 groups created, and we're just going to try mapping some effects to these to show you the difference between them and how they operate whenever you do the mapping. And then finally, I have this mega tree. Now, it's set up as a single color intensity at the moment, but I actually want to do a single color. Actually, single color intensity is fine, because this is already going to be a pretty good size amount of information just to get us to the point where you can see what the layout is set up as and kind of what the challenges are going to be. So I am going to create a new sequence, and I am going to create a musical sequence, and I'm going to look for what the heck was the name of the song? This song right here. This is a song that we actually have the rights to utilize. And YouTube's not going to ding me for anything. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to move the model preview over. Shouldn't have done that yet. Pop this effects setting out. I'm going to put it over here where I normally do. And I'm going to put my layers setting down here on the bottom. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to import a sequence. Now, whenever you import a sequence, and we have our groups. This is why I had to set the groups up earlier ahead of time. I'm going to import effects, and I'm going to go in and look for my, let's see, package sequences. Where are you? Package sequences. There they are. We'll import from here. So here you can see this is I'm importing from the package sequence, and what should you map to what? This is probably going to answer a number of the questions that you guys might have, and I don't want to throw a bunch of crazy stuff out to you. The basic way I can say this, the basic way that you should expect effects to come in is consider the prop that you're mapping from. In my layout, in our layout of PPD, I would suggest highly that if you're going to map AC channels onto something, I highly recommend starting with the arches. The arches are by nature a left to right prop. They're a horizontal prop. They go left to right. That's just what they do. Now in pixel land, we can make them bounce up and down. We can have them come together in the middle and split out from the middle out to the edge. Now we know that, but whenever you're in AC land, direction, vertical direction isn't as easy to get out of a horizontal prop. So if you go with the arches, you're going to be able to sequence or utilize that sequencing a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the the arches onto the arch intensity group, which we have 2 groups of arches. I'm just going to map that over to both of those. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to map this to I didn't call it the mega tree. I just called it the tree. I'm going to map the arches to the tree. Okay. And the tree, if you remember, is set to intensity. I'm pretty sure it is it's set to intensity. So now the other thing I'm going to say is if you're going to map effects to a vertical prop, like let's say the fire sticks, or you're going to map it to, let's say, the fire sticks, we have those vertical channel blocks. What we can do is we can look for a prop that is approximate in the layout you're donating from to a vertical prop. So if there is a house verticals prop, that means that the effects have been designed to go per preview or by the model settings to go up and down. So there's going to be less changes for you to have to make, and overall they should map a little better, but you still might have to go through individually and edit those effects so that, and that's what we're going to do next, is we'll go through. So I'm going to take the house verticals. I think there they are. There's only 11 effects in there, but that's okay. There's 20 effects on the other verticals. Why don't we take those? And we'll put those on the fire sticks. And we're going to put those on the channel block verticals. And let's go ahead and put the house verticals on. Oh, no, let's not do that. Let's go ahead and do the horizontal lines. So another thing, too, candy canes, those are pretty vertical. It doesn't look like I sequenced a lot in this one. This is one of the first songs we did back in 2016. I want to say 2017. I think that was the first song we ever put in the store on the original layout. So we did a lot of stuff on the spinner. Let's see, mini trees. Now, if you have mini trees, I highly recommend trying to use the mini trees on the mini trees. We'll do that with the mini trees all, and then we're going to do that with the mini trees. It says super strings. We'll go with the super strings because that's what we called it. And then you have the wireframes. What do you think you can do with the wireframes? Well, it all depends on the wireframes and how they're kind of set up in your yard. If they're a wireframe group, or let's say they're let's say that there's something similar to the blow molds, and you have like a chorus of blow molds, or you have like a row of candy cane, or maybe you have a row of them. Once again, it's a horizontal prop. If there's something that they're going to bounce left and right to, it's good to use the arches. But if you have only a handful and you just want them to blink, it really isn't going to matter much which ones you select if they're all in a group together. So I think, why don't we throw the icicles on that? I mean, what could go wrong, right? Let's go ahead and put the icicles on it. And I think that covers pretty much all of our groups. The channel blocks horizontal. You know what? We didn't do anything for that one. I don't know, we'll go through them all one at a time real quick. So if they are horizontal, that's an arch. We'll grab the arch for that. Go back up to the arches and we'll put it on there. And we'll click OK. So now it's asking me if I would like to save my map. I just created a map. You might want to say no here and take a moment and click Save Map. And you might save this map and use it later on down the road, right? But we're not going to do that. So I'm just going to click OK. And yes, we'll go ahead and create the map. It'll map it over. And so you can see a bunch of basic effects here that have been applied across the sequence. If we do the famous render, and I don't know if Facebook, let me do a new share on, not Facebook, share sound. There we go. Facebook will be able to hear me, and YouTube should be able to hear me too. Okay. If we just play this, or we just click on a couple things, let's go to the model preview here. I'll pop this open a little bit bigger so you can see it all. If we go to the wireframe section here, it really, it doesn't look like, you know what, actually let's go to the house preview. Where is the house preview? Oh, it's all the way up here. All the way up here. Here we go. Reset. So here we've got a butterfly effect. And remember, we're using single strand intensity for this group. If we come back here and we look at that group, these models are single strand, single color intensity. And so what they're doing is they're looking at the physical colors and they're saying, hey, look, red, green, and white, these aren't assigned colors. So it's actually making those kind of shimmer and flicker along with what the effect was doing. You might add, let's say, maybe you might have to do this. Maybe if you want to see a little more differentiation, you have to change and add a black color in. So now you can see a little bit more flickering between them. So you can't always go at face value with what exactly is selected. Maybe you have to come in here and click another color. And this is what's challenging about using them. And you don't know what's going to look good, especially for that part of the song. So you do have to play with some things. I'll go ahead and close this. Let me put this up here because I don't think, sorry. And we'll go ahead and scroll over here now. So we see a couple things going a little bit crazy here. So it looks like our arches are doing a great job. We have the arch intensity here. The arch intensity is set to red and white. So if you have the arch single color, by nature of having white selected, it's going to activate the white arches, which are on the left-hand side here. By nature, the single color intensity or the intensity arches are getting the feedback from both the white and the red. So the intensity ones are on the right here, the 4 on the right, and the single color ones are on the left here. I guarantee you, though, if we didn't have white selected, see how I had those backwards. See how now that the red is the only thing selected or the green the only thing selected, that nothing's doing anything on one side. But notice I take the colors away and white automatically takes over, and now that lights up. But as soon as you put a color on there that isn't relevant, it doesn't do anything. So rule number 1, if you have an effect down and xLights is not doing anything, number 1, make sure that the effect is set up with the correct color to work with it. Now, one of the things you can do if you have a single color is you can click and drag across your entire screen here, because look at this. We get over here to this. I'll play this for you before I do this. You can watch this green one here and see how they're not lighting up. But you can see over here that these are lighting up because of the intensity is set in the prop. If you have them set up with a specific color to go off, to make this work, or to actually go along with it, what you can do is you can select the model here at the very beginning, right-click, go to Model, and select Effects. And that highlights only the effects that are in this row. And what we can do is we can change the color palette up here, click Update. xLights is going to say, are you absolutely sure that you want to change all the colors on all the selected effects? You can click Yes. So now if we clicked on every single one, they're all going to have this exact white color palette. And it doesn't matter if it's single color intensity, we've selected the color that we know that xLights is going to display that at, because those are quote-unquote white arches. That's what they were programmed in the setup to be. Hey, not bad for my first year, right? So as you can see, the single color intensity is absolutely super helpful, specifically here, because you can see it at work. You can see it at work with this first set of arches that are on the left here, that those are working absolutely perfectly. So if you have something that you're mapping in, this having single color intensity is going to solve a lot of your problems right away. Okay? But again, remember the other thing too is that we picked a prop that is by nature bouncing left and right. We didn't choose a prop that is going up and down. And so let's look at what exactly might happen in other instances, since we've kind of already gone through the arches. Let's go to the mini trees. Let's deal with the mini trees. Let's have a look at those. So let's mini tree superstrings. Well, the superstrings are on the bottom, and then the RGB ones are on the top. So the colors are there. And notice whenever they're all lit up with white, it looks like xLights is telling all of the colors to turn on the RGB. But whenever you have superstrings and you hit white, nothing comes on. So now what do you have to do? You have to turn on all the colors, red, blue, and green, and that gets all of the colors activated for, oh wait, this is the on effect, so it's not going to turn them all on. It's not going to turn them on. So now you come up with another challenge is, oh, well, it's not going to register that this is white and to turn them all on whenever you're working with the superstrings, which is kind of weird because I thought the superstrings were set up to do that. So how do you deal with that? I really don't know. You'd have to turn them all on. I wonder if you could do some layer blending. I don't know. Let's play around, because I've never really seen this issue. Let's do layer blending. Let's add another layer below. Insert layer above. can we put another on effect there? And what if we do, let's layer, oop, I put the wrong thing down there. Oop. Let me put this down there. There we go. Okay, let's change this to additive with this additive. So we have red. Let's get rid of the red, and now it's green. And then if we do another on effect, we get rid of that, and now we have blue, and we have additive, additive, and additive. It doesn't want to light them all up. That's kind of weird. Wasn't expecting that. So that's what happens. I mean, I'm not sure if that's a bug or not. Maybe that's something I should ask Keith about. So in any event, we'll just keep rolling right along. Let's go find some more effects here. So we're looking at the trees. And obviously it looks like I'm only using red on this one. I'm only using green on this one. I'm not using a lot of pink and blues or and oranges or yellows or anything. So they're not color mixing. But if I were to go to the mini trees all group, I think that's what it would be. If we mix the, if we came in here and called this purple, you might see that it's going to try to display the purple with which mixes blue and red together. So, but if we try to do that down here, I don't know that it's going to work or not. Yeah, it's not going to work very well. So it looks like the super strings are not as useful. It looks like the super. Oh, well, they're working. Well, that's it's working because I have the color physically set to select to bring it on. But why wouldn't white work? That just is crazy. That's just crazy. Purple will work. Okay, learning something new every day. So you can see that purple will come through, and I don't want to say it's going to be a perfect purple, but it's going to activate those colors. And if you're far enough away and those lights are mixed close enough together, that what will happen is it will appear to be more purple if you have the red and blue strings turned on. It does. It from a distance it can look good. If you're up close on it, you'll know right away that obviously it's two different colors are turned on. So there's your green. So now we're getting into, now we've got an effect here, the bars effect and the pinwheel. And they're not doing anything. And this is on our this is on our super strings, and then this is on our. So this is the challenge. Here's the challenge. It's not doing anything. There's an effect. What's going on? And so the first thing that we're going to look at is we're going to look at the way that the model is being told what to do under the layer setting box. So let's go over to the layer setting box and look at the pinwheel effect. And number one, we've learned that, oh, look, there's a black effect. This looks like this is black color. So what this is masking something. And you don't know this, but if but if this is black, it's masking something. It might also be masking something if it has this on the layer blending tab saying mask. But if we come down to this and we have white selected, we see green and white. Let's get rid of the green, or let's get rid of the white, and let's just go with red and green. Now, here's the other thing that we have to do. We have to consider that we are on a horizontal set of props. And if we look at the direction the effect is going, see how it's going down, what you have to consider is maybe you have to change the direction of the effect. And maybe we have to, let's move this out of the way. And let's see if we can just get the bars effect to do something. As long as we can get it to do something, it will hopefully it will provide something for you. The other thing here is, look, repeat palette. So this is why it can be confusing. You have to mess around with some of these maybe to get them to do something that's interesting. And let's get rid of the 3D highlight. There we go. And sometimes you have to do this. Sometimes you have to sit there and figure out, how am I going to do this? Another thing that you want to consider doing is coming down here to layer setting, and let's go to per model per preview. And now we got it doing something. If we add black in there, that does do something. What if we did horizontal per model? Horizontal per model. There we go. And I know that that's quite a bit of work just to try to figure out what exactly is going on. But whenever you start doing things like that, you're going to have to go through and play with some things, specifically with the bars effect, especially whenever it's in a group such as that. It's going to be kind of confusing on what exactly is the best way. Now, something that we didn't do, something that we did not do, is we did not create a group with each of our mini trees in individual groups, and that might be a good idea. So if we come over here, create group from selection, mini blue, and let's go back into here. There's the green. Right click, mini, create group, mini green, and we'll do one more. Right click, mini, create group, mini red. Okay, we just created 3 groups. We're going to go back into the sequence. Oh wait, before we do that, mini blue, green, and we're going to put all of these in one group. We're going to nest these groups together and see if we can get a little different result in our effect sequencing. So let's see. Create group from selection, mini colors, color individual. There we go. So we'll go back into the sequencer. We'll go into display elements. In our display elements screen, we created these 4 new groups. We'll come down here. Oop. I'm trying to make this bigger. And we'll put this down here where it says mixed color individual. Close that up. And so you can see it right here. Mini trees, mini color individual. And we'll copy and paste our bars effect over to this blank section where there's no effect at it. And hopefully we'll get some sort of, and we'll change this render style to per preview. And maybe this is going to act more like the bars effect, which is exactly what it does. So what has to happen is xLights has to know that your groups, your individual models, each have to have those individual groups in order for them to see them separately or individually as the group of red, the group of green, and the group of blue. And then that might be a key to helping. So let's do this. Let's do this. We're going to take the effects here. We will insert another layer, insert a layer below, and then we'll select this line. We're selecting this whole line, and we're going to copy the effects from here. We're going to select model, copy effects, and we'll come down here. Let's insert a layer below. I thought I did this already. There we go. And we'll right-click model, and we'll paste effects. So that should take all of the effects from up above, put them down below, untouched. And now, even with that fan effect that was masking, now they're actually doing something. So maybe that's a better idea for us to consider going through in the future and kind of setting it up ahead of time so that it has a little bit better of a resolution. Let me delete off these effects, and we'll go ahead and render this again. Should only take a second. And so we're looking specifically at this group here. I wonder if that's going to show in the model preview instead of having this one here. Yeah, that's going to show in the model preview. And we'll go ahead and play that. So again, we're running into something's going on here that's a little bit odd. And so we have a red and black that is selected, and we can see that this says compress. Is this a horizontal compress or is it a vertical compress? And I know this because I'm used to using xLights. Maybe your first go-to might be, in this instance, is to go to transformations and rotate this 90 degrees and see what happens whenever you do. If you have the same thing going on in all of these frames, then let's go ahead and do something basic or simple. We'll go ahead and we'll select this first one again, and then I'll click and drag and select the rest of them. And I've already rotated counterclockwise 90 degrees. If you select right click and bulk edit, you can set that to all of them all at one time. And now if we play it, so that's just one way for you to kind of attack. We've seen the arches, we've seen some of the mini trees and so forth. I'm going to take a second. There's a little bit of chatter out there that I want to follow up with in Facebook. So let me double check. Scott mentioned that ACs are good for house outline or house lights, outdoor house lights, sign lights, and etc. Yeah, the Tune 2 signs, perfect for those. Andy says he uses several 16-channel controllers to run his candy canes around the perimeter of the yard. That's a perfect use for them. Have them zipping around. They're chasing, especially, and you just saw a candy cane is the same thing as an arch. It's just one segment out of a bunch of them. And if you, I mean, for goodness sakes, I remember going to Walmart and you get a bunch of those. They were maybe $1 a piece, and you could get 32 of those things for $32 and really have, you know, a wow wrapped around your yard. That's a great idea, Andy. John says, I got 2 LOR controllers plus Pixel 2 AC. So Pixel 2 AC is the same kind of idea as xLights, as LOR. The difference is that you connect a Pixel 2 Things board. This is something that previous to Experience Lights, Pixel 2 Things was a AC controller that managed a low voltage amount of AC channels or AC props, and you could simply plug into the end of, let's say, your snowflake or your candy cane in the yard, and you could add a couple more pixel channels to the end of that and run some AC channels at the end of that, and it was real simple to add it. So if you're using those, this is perfect for AC stuff. Tom said, now I've gone through this is probably about 20 minutes ago. Tom says, this is how I did my mini trees. Maybe you could be a little more specific now that I've finally looked at it. Pardon me for being so late. And then Steven says, or bulk edit all the effects to change the colors to be white. So I did show that. I guess I showed that a little bit later than what he suggested. So that was from Steven. Steven definitely has a LOR AC show. Steven, maybe you could hang out there for a little bit and kind of fill in after we get through a little bit more of the content, your experiences. So give me just a second here. And we're going to go to the channel blocks and the verticals. So if you saw me do the basic change, rotate 90 degrees, just to get some sort of reaction out of it, that's probably your go-to. The other thing is going to be the exact same thing for your, let's say, your vertical props. If you have vertical props, let's say the fire sticks, here we'll get those going. You can see there's red and black. Well, I think the channel, the fire sticks were, how do we set those up? We set the fire sticks up with single color, so white has to activate them. So everything here needs to be in white, or should be in white, and if it isn't, it may not activate it very well for you. What I'll do is just what Steven suggested, which is select everything. I'll click and drag this time, and then we'll change it to white. We'll just update it to white, and we'll re-render that. Maybe that'll help it a little bit. We'll see. Absolutely helped it. And if we go down here a little bit further, The spiral effect. Let's see what spirals looks like. That's what spiral looks like on a Fire Stick wall. Now, if you guys didn't know any better, this would be considered a matrix. Just like I said earlier in the class tonight, is you could make a basic matrix out of your AC channels in xLights and use your old LOR controllers or your Pixel 2 Things ones. That's something that is worth mentioning. So there's that. Bring this back over. So I see these channel blocks went off. The vertical channel blocks are going off over here. And with them going off, they're not doing the exact same thing that these vertical models are doing, but they are picking up the effects on them. So if you're doing a vertical prop, the vertical props are definitely going to work. The difference is going to be the vertical movement has to be something that it understands. If it doesn't understand it, then it's not really going to work real well. And look at that, a pinwheel on a Fire Stick matrix. That's pretty slick. And this is why it's interesting whenever you do kind of take a step back and look at the kind of the old school way that we used to sequence. And it can work. It can do something. It can produce a result, but it may not always produce the result the way you think it should. And it does take time to figure out exactly how to make it do it the way that you want it to. Rich mentioned on YouTube, I'll bring this up, he says, I had 280 channels of LOR, but not going back. I won't say that I'm not going back. I won't say that I'm going back, but I won't say that I won't never use them again. So that's for sure. So Barry's out of here. Have a good night, Barry. The next thing, let's look at the channel blocks. The channel blocks are always, to me, the most, let's say, confusing, because you think that so in this instance we're doing a bounce from left to right. Now the channel blocks that we're looking at are this one right here. If we look at the arches, you can see the arches are running back and forth. They're using the exact same effect, but whenever you put an effect on a channel block, it's not like you're putting an effect on the channel blocks themselves. So one of the things I had to learn is if you sequence with channel blocks, you have to be very extremely deliberate. So I'm going to go over and I'm going to look at what colors are being displayed here. So if this is single strand, maybe I need to deselect some of these colors. And the other thing I might need to do is I might have to do per model per preview. And that's going to be what gets things to work for you whenever you're using the channel blocks. I learned the hard way that the channel blocks have to almost more often than not, if we play them here. So they're watching there. Now we changed this one, and that one seemed to fix it. What we'll do is we'll bulk edit. We'll right-click bulk edit and per model per preview. And they're doing the exact same thing as the arches had been doing. So that gives you a good idea of the horizontal action whenever it comes to the intensity, or excuse me, of the channel blocks. Now the vertical channel blocks, they're doing something, but they're doing it per model strand, it looks like. What if we, again, do the exact same thing? What if we do per model per preview? And it doesn't look like it's doing exactly the same kind of spiral-like look as what the channel blocks do. So sequencing on channel blocks may not be the most easiest thing to kind of come up with, and that's what I learned as well. It was really hard for me to kind of disseminate it and kind of parse it out. But I mean, when you have other options, you can create props instead of using the channel blocks to sequence with. You're probably going to, again, the idea of the channel blocks was to quickly bring in all of your LOR sequences, and then you could build an xLights layout later on. or you could build it in a manner that was a little more conducive to what your setup was going to be as you learn more about xLights. And that was the idea behind channel blocks. So let's see, the megatree. I think the megatree is kind of the same animal that you might consider the arches are. Anytime there is something that is horizontal, it's going to work just fine. Anytime there's something that's vertical, where it bounces up and down, you might notice that it's not going to work as well. So, for example, let me see if there's something else here. That looks pretty good. As far as a megatree goes, that actually looks pretty decent. But here's this instance again where we had this masking that we were doing. If we delete the mask and we just go with the bars effect, we were going down. When anytime you have a down direction, maybe instead of messing around with it, let's say this specifically with the effect, let's just say change your transformation to 90 degrees. Now you're going to see it activate and do something. So that's something to take into consideration as well. I think the 90 degrees is probably your best bet. But if you want to sit there and mess around with, so for example, if we change this repeat palette to 1, now you see a little bit more fluid movement, but the more repeat palettes you have, and it's kind of faded out and kind of sharp and jittery. So yeah, you might play with the effect a little bit more once you get it doing something, or change the orientation so that it's going in a direction, a left to right direction, which is one of the things that you want to do whenever you're mapping your sequences. So I have pretty much gone through everything that I've wanted to in this lesson. If you guys have any questions out there in YouTube, Facebook seems to stutter on me for whatever reason. Like, it doesn't keep up with me. So if you are on Facebook, by all means, jump in the Zoom room. I know we've been going for probably a good, about an hour now. But there's a lot to go through, and it is a good chance for some people who, there are some specific people that are in the community that I know right now are switching over into LOR, or from LOR into xLights, and have a rather reasonably sized 150 plus channel LOR show that they're converting into xLights. And I was really hoping to kind of bring some attention back to something that's maybe our roots. Maybe some of us are very fond of because we started with it and it kind of got us hooked in the hobby. That's what happened to me, by all means. So if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in chat. Out there in YouTube, huge thank you guys. If you would, hope you liked the video. Please give us a big thumbs up if you did. If you haven't done yet, so hit the subscribe button, because we are always doing more videos as we go along. And if you want to join us in the Zoom room, the link is down below. You can join us by jumping into the Zoom room. And if you have questions, we're going to roll into, and the same thing for you on Facebook. If you want to jump into the Zoom room, you're welcome to join us. And we will continue the discussion, or we can move on to more interesting things that you might be looking to do on your home show. It is setup season after all, and we are trying to get ready. So if you have any questions, bring them into the room. Guys, it's been wonderful having you. So Facebook, thank you very much. Have a great evening. We'll say goodbye to you and to YouTube. If you appreciate the things we do here, also consider joining the PPD Sequence Club. You get an awesome sequence each and every month. So we appreciate you guys. Have a great evening, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the next video.